They pulled away. And maybe it caught you off guard. Maybe you felt that familiar ache in your chest, the urge to fix it, reach out, say something, do something. But let's be honest, that's the same old pattern that never really works. Because chasing someone who's walking away only leaves you further from yourself. This time is different. This time, you're not going to chase. You're not going to beg. You're not going to hand over your power like it's a cheap gift. No, this time you're going to pause. Not because you don't care, but because you finally realize something deeper. Your peace matters more than someone's temporary attention. What if their silence was a message, not a punishment? What if them pulling away wasn't the end, but the beginning of your awakening? You see, when someone pulls back, it's easy to assume something's wrong with you. But sometimes, it's the universe giving you space to remember who the hell you are. The Stoics taught us to focus only on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our energy, and that's exactly where your power is. You don't control what they feel. You don't control what they decide. But you do control how you carry yourself in the silence they left behind. You won't reattract them by sending long messages or proving your worth. You won't earn their attention back by over-explaining or begging them to see your value. You become magnetic again by becoming still. Grounded, centered, like a mountain that doesn't move just because the wind howls. Imagine this. A storm passes through a forest. Trees bend, branches snap. But the strongest ones, they stay rooted. They survive the storm not by fighting it, but by staying calm, steady, and still. That's what this moment is for you. A storm. But instead of reacting, you're choosing to remain rooted in yourself. Most people try to fill the silence. They rush to fix what feels broken. But silence is not your enemy. It's your weapon. It creates space. It creates mystery. And eventually, it creates curiosity. When someone feels the shift in your energy, not your words, not your efforts, but your energy, they begin to wonder. They begin to feel the absence of what they once took for granted. And that's when things start to turn. You're not doing this to manipulate. You're not pretending not to care. You're doing this because you've finally learned to prioritize the one thing you kept giving away too easily, your self-worth. When you stop trying to prove your value, people are forced to face it. When you pull your energy back, they have nothing left to feed on, except their own thoughts about you. That's the power of detachment. That's what the Stoics meant when they said, "He who angers you controls you." And I'd add this, he or she who makes you beg owns you. So stop begging, start becoming. Let your silence speak the words you're done saying. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to do that, not by using tricks or tactics, but by transforming the way you see yourself. You'll learn how to reattract the right way, through presence, through calm, through quiet strength. You don't need to shout. You just need to be so deeply at peace with yourself that your presence becomes unforgettable, even when you're gone. But stay with me until the end, because I'll ask you one powerful question, a question that most people avoid. But your answer could change everything. It's not just about getting them back. It's about asking yourself if they're even worth the version of you you're about to become. So if you're ready to reclaim your power and become magnetic without saying a word, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss a video that helps you become your strongest self. And drop a comment below with the affirmation, "I attract naturally." Say it, type it, believe it. Because when you truly understand your value, You won't need to chase what's already meant for you. Let's get into it. 1. Stop watering dead plants. Stop checking your phone. Stop staring at the ceiling, wondering if they're thinking about you. Stop living in pause mode, waiting for a text that might never come, a call that stays silent, or a sign that may not arrive. Every time you sit still, hoping they notice you, you hand them power they didn't even ask for. This is where most people get stuck. They turn someone else into the center of their universe, forgetting they were supposed to be the sun in their own sky. They stop moving, they stop building, they wait, and in waiting, they wither. But here's the truth. Nothing attractive ever comes from stillness soaked in desperation. The moment you stop living for someone else's attention is the moment you start to attract it naturally, because attraction doesn't bloom in the soil of begging. It grows where strength is rooted. Ask yourself, who's more magnetic? The one clinging to memories and scrolling through old messages, or the one out there sharpening their body, expanding their mind, building a life with or without applause? People don't drift toward neediness. They gravitate toward purpose. They move toward energy that's focused, grounded, evolving. And if your heart whispers, "But what if they forget me?" remind yourself of this. They are far more likely to remember the person who vanished into transformation than the one who stayed the same, hoping for closure. You don't become unforgettable by waiting. You become unforgettable by becoming. Start where you are. The gym, the journal, the business idea you've put off, the books you haven't read, the habits you haven't built. There's no magic in chasing. There's power in changing. It's like the blacksmith and the sword. The fire isn't there to burn you. It's there to forge you. Every hard moment, every ache, every lonely night, it's shaping you into someone stronger, sharper, and unbreakable. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." That's the mission now. Not to be noticed, but to be undeniable. It's not about proving to them that you're worth loving. It's about becoming someone you don't need to convince anymore. That's real confidence. That's unshakable value. And here's a thought that might echo in your mind right now. What if I change and they never come back? Then let them stay gone. Because the person you're becoming, they're not for someone who had to lose you to see you. They're for someone who sees your worth the moment they meet you, not the moment you walk away. You don't chase love. You don't beg for it. You don't throw pieces of yourself at people who are unsure if they want to stay. You attract by rising, quietly, powerfully, without show, without shouting, without waiting. That's the Stoic way, to move forward without needing an audience, to grow without needing applause, to understand that your value isn't measured by someone else's ability to see it. It's measured by your ability to stand in it, alone, if necessary. And the irony? That's when they start noticing, not when you post quotes about healing, not when you hint at your pain, but when you disappear into purpose, when your silence is louder than your presence ever was. Let them wonder. Let them feel the distance. Let them try to piece together where you went, what you're doing, and why you're no longer chasing. Because when and if they return, they won't be returning to the same version of you. They'll be facing someone entirely new, someone who doesn't need to be seen to know they shine. They'll meet someone who no longer needs closure, validation, or approval. They'll meet someone who stopped watering dead plants and started growing their own damn forest. And that version of you? That version doesn't chase. That version chooses. 2. Don't break character. There's a moment, right after someone pulls away, where the pressure hits. Your mind starts racing. Should you send a message? Should you explain how you feel? Should you fight for what's slipping through your fingers? That urge to react, to fix, to chase. It's loud. It screams at you to do something. But that's where most people crumble. That's where emotional control disappears, and neediness takes the wheel. Clinginess isn't love. It's fear dressed up in desperate words and restless actions. And nothing repels more than someone who seems like they've lost themselves the moment someone else walks away. But what if you didn't react? What if you didn't fall apart? What if you didn't break character? There's a quiet kind of strength in staying composed, not pretending, not acting cool while your world secretly burns. No, genuine calm, the kind that comes from knowing your worth doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's attention. The kind of calm that whispers, even if they go, I won't lose myself. A Stoic once said, "He who is brave is free." And in this context, bravery is emotional discipline. Bravery is refusing to hand someone the keys to your inner world just because they're confused about what they want. You might wonder, but won't they think I don't care? That's the fear talking, and fear is a liar. People don't value what's easily shaken. They don't respect what crumbles the moment they pull back. When you remain still, composed, and grounded, it doesn't say, I don't care. It says, I care about myself enough not to lose my balance for someone who doesn't know how to stand beside me. Think of a candle in the wind. The ones that flicker and die, those are the ones chasing the wind. But the ones protected by calm, by structure, by stillness, they keep burning. Your flame can stay lit, even when the winds of uncertainty blow through your life. When someone pulls away, they're watching more than you think. They're observing how you handle distance, and when you handle it with poise, with stillness, with purpose, it creates space for reflection. They start asking themselves questions. Why aren't they chasing? Did I misjudge their worth? Did I overestimate my importance in their world? That's not manipulation. That's self-respect. Because emotional stability, real, unshaken presence, is rare. Most people flinch. Most people send the long texts, make the calls, post the stories. But not you. Not this time. You're not here to react. You're here to respond. With silence if needed. With space. With dignity. That's the difference between emotional chaos and emotional clarity. Scarcity creates value. And when your presence becomes rare, it becomes priceless. But that scarcity must be sincere. You can't fake indifference while secretly checking their profile every night. You can't pretend to be okay while obsessively wondering if they miss you. They'll sense it, and the illusion will shatter. True calm only comes when you no longer see another person as the source of your worth. When you understand that you were whole before they showed up, and you'll still be whole if they leave. And that's when the shift happens. When you stop chasing, you become the mystery. When you stop over-explaining, you become the intrigue. When you stay still while everyone else is spinning, you become unforgettable. So let them feel the silence. Let them feel the weight of your absence, not as punishment, but as proof that your world doesn't fall apart because someone couldn't decide if they want to be in it. Because at the end of the day, only those who value themselves can truly be valued. And the moment you stop chasing is the moment they start noticing. Hold the line. Don't break character. 3. Give it air or watch it die. The more you chase, the less they see your value. It's a truth that stings, especially when emotions are high and all you want is to fix what feels like it's slipping away. But chasing rarely brings them back. More often it pushes them further away. It's like holding fire in your hands. You want it to burn brighter, but the more you smother it, the more it dies. Love, like fire, needs air. It needs space to breathe. And if you're always reaching, always proving, always pleading, you leave no room for the flame to grow. When someone starts pulling back, the worst thing you can do is panic. The worst thing you can do is flood them with messages, trying to remind them of who you are. Because in doing so, you're not reminding them of your worth. You're announcing your fear. And fear isn't attractive. Fear says, I need you to feel whole. Confidence says, I'm whole with or without you. This is the hard part, the part where your mind wants answers, where you start wondering, did I do something wrong? Are they losing interest? Should I fight harder? But here's the truth. You can't fight for something that's slipping because of pressure. Sometimes the only winning move is stepping back, not out of bitterness, not out of games, but out of respect for yourself and for the connection. A Stoic doesn't crumble under uncertainty. They don't chase chaos. They understand a deep truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. If someone takes distance, use that space to reflect. Were you too available? Did you lose touch with your purpose? Did you shrink your world to fit inside theirs? These moments aren't punishments, they're revelations. A pause that shows you where you've been giving too much and growing too little. And if they're pulling back as a test, consciously or not, your reaction will give them the answer they're looking for. If you rush to prove your worth, if you drown them in affection out of fear, you're not calming their doubts. You're confirming them. So what do you do instead? You breathe. You refocus. You remember the life you had before you met them. You return to the fire of your purpose, the passions you sidelined, the goals you paused. You stop making them your center and you become the gravity again. That shift, that stillness, is what makes them notice. Not noise, not effort, not more of you, but less. And yes, they may wonder, why aren't they chasing? Let them. Let them sit with that silence. Let your absence do the talking. Because the version of you who doesn't flinch when someone steps back, that version is unforgettable. Imagine a person standing beside a fire pit. If they keep tossing in logs out of panic, the flame dies. But if they step back, let the air in, let the fire breathe, it grows on its own. That's attraction. That's connection. It has to breathe. So when they return, and often they do, don't overcompensate. Don't treat their comeback like a reward. Meet it with the same calm you held in their absence. Warm, yes. Open, yes. But never desperate. You don't need to prove anything, because the person they were drawn to in the beginning wasn't desperate, wasn't shaken. That person was centered, clear, grounded. Stay that way. This isn't about playing it cool. It's about actually being cool, because your peace is no longer up for negotiation. You don't need to chase. You don't need to fix. You need to breathe. Give it air, or watch it die. 4. Let silence stir the storm. Silence. It feels like nothing, but it carries weight. And when someone pulls away, it becomes your strongest move. Most people panic in that moment. They rush in with words, trying to fix what feels broken. They type out long messages filled with emotion, nostalgia, confusion, hoping to explain their way back into connection. But here's the hard truth. Words don't always heal. In fact, when spoken from panic or fear, they often push the other person further away. Because when someone takes distance and you immediately try to close that space, it confirms one thing: you need them more than you need your own peace. And there's nothing magnetic about desperation. But when you go silent, truly silent, it stirs something deeper. Not because you're trying to play games, but because your silence speaks a language words never could. It says, "I'm not here to beg. I'm not here to perform. I'm not shaken." That kind of stillness makes people think. It creates a space where their mind starts filling in the blanks. Why did they stop trying? Did I misread them? Why does their silence feel heavier than their words ever did? That's the power of absence, the weight of what's no longer said. It's like a powerful scene in a movie, the one where no one talks, but you feel everything. The room goes quiet, and suddenly the emotion hits harder than any line of dialogue could. That's what your silence becomes, the scene they keep replaying in their mind. There's a reason the Stoics taught that restraint is power. As Epictetus said, silence is safer than speech. And when emotions run high, silence becomes wisdom. A person who understands their worth doesn't rush to explain. They don't chase. They observe. They listen, not just to words, but to actions. And if someone's actions say, "I need space," they don't argue with that reality. They respect it, because they know that silence is not surrender, it's strength. You might be wondering, but what if they think I've stopped caring? Let them wonder, because curiosity creates more pull than any confession. When someone expects a reaction and gets your calm instead, they're forced to sit with their own emotions. That space, the not knowing, is where reflection begins. And if they ever valued the connection, they'll feel that emptiness. Just like when a favorite song ends, and the silence that follows makes you realize how much you enjoyed it. Just like when a light goes out, and the darkness suddenly reminds you how bright it was. That's what you become when you stop chasing and start trusting, the quiet echo that lingers. Real strength is not in raising your voice, it's in controlling it. It's in pausing when your emotions want to spill out. It's in choosing not to send that message, not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself enough to stop begging for clarity. If something real existed, silence will bring it back stronger. And if it doesn't, then silence was your answer. So let them feel the space. Let them hear the sound of your absence. Let your silence ask the questions their ego won't let them ignore. Why aren't they chasing? Why does it feel like they're already gone? Did I lose someone irreplaceable? Because if there's still a spark left, they'll feel it, deep in the quiet. Not in the noise of your words, but in the absence that suddenly feels louder than anything you ever said. And that's when the dynamic shifts. You stop being the one who wants them back and become the one they quietly start wanting again. Let silence stir the storm. 5. Let the empty chair speak. Here's a truth that hits harder than most want to admit. If someone pulled away, it means something in the dynamic stopped working. Something shifted. Maybe it wasn't obvious at first. Maybe it happened slowly, like a fire running out of oxygen. But make no mistake, when they began to drift, they were feeling something you weren't seeing. Maybe they felt emotionally crowded. Maybe the spark dimmed. Maybe, without realizing it, you became too predictable, too available, too easy to read. And the mind craves mystery. The heart desires something it can feel, not something that's always just there. It's painful to accept, but powerful when you do. The more you try to fix it with words, through explaining, reasoning, pleading, the more the remaining interest suffocates. Attraction doesn't rise from desperation. You can't logic someone into wanting you again. That's where silence becomes your strength. That's where absence becomes your message. Stoic philosophy teaches the art of restraint, not because emotion is weakness, but because not every emotion deserves an immediate reaction. Sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all. When you stop reaching out, when you remove yourself from the routine they once took for granted, you create space. And in that space, something crucial happens. They feel the shift. Now you might wonder, but what if they forget me? What if silence makes them move on? Here's the answer. If they can forget you that easily, they were never holding on in the first place. But more often than not, silence doesn't erase. It amplifies. It gives room for memory to breathe, for reflection to surface. Suddenly, the noise of everyday life isn't covering up what they once had with you. And that absence? It echoes. People remember what's gone more than what's always there. Think about it. A room feels more silent when someone who used to fill it is no longer around. An empty chair at the table says more than 100 conversations. That's what you become when you step back. Not invisible, but unforgettable. Because here's the truth about human nature. We value what we feel we might lose. We crave what feels rare. The ordinary becomes extraordinary the moment it's no longer guaranteed. And if you keep showing up uninvited, if you keep reminding them you're still there, they never get the chance to miss you. You're not giving absence the space to do its work. Ask yourself, what holds more power? The diamond locked away in a vault, or the one tossed around, easy to grab, easy to forget? You have to carry yourself like the diamond, silent, sure, certain of your value, whether it's acknowledged or not. When you step back without anger, without games, and simply reclaim your energy, something shifts. You stop being the one they assume will always be there, and start becoming the one they fear they might have lost. That's the turning point. It's not about making them come back. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need them to. And if they do return, let them walk into the presence of someone transformed, someone who no longer begs to be chosen, because they've already chosen themselves. And if they don't, you still win, because you didn't sell your soul for validation. You didn't sacrifice your peace for temporary comfort. You didn't trade your self-worth for one more reply. You became the presence they remember by becoming the absence they weren't ready for. Let the empty chair speak. 6. Don't be the begging flame. Neediness is the fastest way to lose someone's attention. Not because they're cruel, not because they enjoy seeing you in pain, but because emotional neediness gives off the energy of lack, and lack never attracts. It repels. When someone senses that your world spins around their approval, the dynamic quietly shifts. You might not see it at first, but it's there. Every time you text too soon, wait for replies like oxygen, or base your mood on their reactions, you're placing your worth in their hands, and they feel that weight, not as love, but as pressure. You may be thinking, isn't it normal to care, to want them back? Of course it is, but there's a difference between caring and depending, between wanting and needing. One comes from power, the other from fear. And fear never pulls anyone closer. It only makes you smaller in their eyes. Attraction is built on strength, on presence, on stillness. Think of a flame. A fire burns bright when it's fueled by its own heat, not when it's leaning on the wind to stay alive. But when you become the begging flame, reaching, flickering, chasing whatever spark you can get, it's only a matter of time before you burn out. People don't fall for someone who clings. They're drawn to the one who can walk away without flinching, the one whose life is full, rich, and moving, with or without them in it. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." That's the mindset that creates quiet magnetism. When you no longer seek permission to be enough, you become more than enough in their eyes. You might be wondering, but won't they think I've stopped caring? They'll start wondering how you found your balance. They'll ask themselves why you're not chasing like they expected. And that curiosity creates the kind of tension that fuels attraction. Not because you manipulated it, but because you stopped feeding it with need. The moment they feel your emotional detachment, when they realize you're no longer orbiting around their presence, something shifts. Suddenly, your value increases. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped placing your happiness in someone else's hands. This is the core of self-sufficiency. It's not just about independence, it's about wholeness. A person who is whole doesn't crumble when someone leaves. They might bend, they might bleed, but they don't beg, they rebuild. You want to know what makes you magnetic? A life, a purpose, a sense of direction so strong that no silence, no rejection, no absence can break your stride. So if they walked away, let them. Don't chase. Don't explain. Don't try to impress them with what you think they want. Let your calm be your response. Let your growth be your reply. Let your indifference speak, not out of spite, but out of truth. Because the truth is this: your happiness was never supposed to depend on someone else's decision to stay. And if they come back, great. Let them meet the new you, the one who doesn't need them to feel whole. And if they don't, even better. You're still standing, still rising, still glowing. Don't be the begging flame, be the fire that fuels itself. 7. Slip in like you never left. When it's time to make your comeback, if that moment ever comes, don't make it loud, don't make it theatrical, and don't make it obvious. Real power lies in subtlety, quiet confidence, a presence that doesn't announce itself but is still felt. Most people think that if they reappear with enough intensity, long messages, emotional confessions, big declarations, it'll show how serious they are, that it'll move the other person. But the truth, that kind of energy often pushes them away, because it smells of desperation, of overcompensation, of someone who's been waiting too long to say too much. You might ask yourself, but won't they appreciate the effort? Because attraction isn't a reward for how hard you try. It's a response to how you carry yourself. Effort is important, yes, but when it looks like you've been holding your breath for their return, it flips the dynamic. It hands them the power you just reclaimed. Instead, think subtle, effortless, like someone who didn't vanish out of hurt, but simply got busy living. Maybe it's a short message after real time has passed, something light, with no hooks attached. Or maybe you don't reach out at all. You let the silence breathe, trusting that if something real still lingers, it'll rise again on its own. That's not passivity. That's strength. That's knowing you don't need to knock on doors you've already closed with grace. When someone pulls away and you don't chase, that leaves a mark, not immediately, but over time. And when you reappear, not to reclaim, but to reconnect, it should feel like the breeze returning, not the storm barging back in. Think of the tide. It doesn't rush. It flows in quietly, steadily, with no announcement, and yet it shifts the entire shoreline. A Stoic doesn't make moments bigger than they need to be. As Seneca said, he suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary. And when you reappear with emotional weight, you're not just reminding them of the past, you're anchoring yourself to it. That's not attractive. That's heavy. Your strength is in your stillness, your calm, your ability to move on without slamming doors or leaving scars. When you re-enter with that energy, relaxed, grounded, indifferent to the outcome, it sparks something powerful: curiosity. They start wondering, why does this feel different? Why aren't they chasing? Did I matter less than I thought? Or did I underestimate their strength? That mystery, that calm detachment, that's what pulls them in. And if they reach out first, and it happens more than you think, don't overplay the moment. Don't turn it into a grand reunion. Let it be natural. Let it unfold. No need to explain where you've been or prove how much you've changed. Just show up as someone who never stopped living, someone who didn't pause their life, hoping to be picked again. You may be wondering, won't they need clarity? Shouldn't we talk about what happened? Maybe, but not now, not all at once. Let your energy speak before your words ever do. Let your peace be the first thing they feel. That's what they'll remember. You don't have to try so hard to be seen again. Just be so grounded, so centered, so undeniably yourself, that your presence is felt, even in silence. That's the kind of comeback that doesn't ask for attention, but somehow gets it anyway. Slip in like you never left, and let who you've become say everything that needs to be said. 8. Let them come to the flame. Attraction isn't loud. It doesn't beg. It doesn't shout to be noticed. It whispers. It lingers. It's quiet confidence that walks into a room without needing a spotlight and still turns heads. You can't force someone to feel something they no longer feel. And trying to? That's where most people lose the game. The moment you start chasing, pleading, convincing, you flip the energy. Instead of becoming desirable, you become dependent. And nothing kills attraction faster than need. You might be thinking, but shouldn't I show them how much I care? Shouldn't I fight for what we had? That instinct is human, but often it's the wrong move. Because attraction isn't something you earn by effort. It's something you inspire by who you are. You don't win someone back by pushing harder. You win by pulling back and letting your growth speak louder than your words ever could. Real attraction comes from presence, from self-sufficiency, from being so locked into your purpose that people notice you simply because you're too focused to care whether they do or not. Think of it like this. When a flame burns steady, it draws people in. It doesn't scream. It doesn't wave. It simply burns. The warmth, the glow, that's what draws others. That's what makes them lean closer. Be the flame. Why are some people effortlessly attractive? It's not just about looks, status, or money. It's energy. It's how they move, how they don't need to be seen to be felt. They walk into a space like they own their reality. Not arrogantly, calmly, confidently. That's what makes them magnetic. And when others begin to notice that, when people start laughing at your jokes, respecting your voice, admiring your growth, the person who once pulled away will start to question themselves. Why do others see something I missed? Did I overlook their value? Were they more than I thought? This is the power of social proof, not in a fake or performative way, but in the real, quiet proof of your evolution. When your life is full, friends, purpose, fitness, financial focus, peace, it creates an undeniable glow. You stop being the person who waited to be noticed. You become the person who can't be ignored. You might wonder, but isn't that just trying to make them jealous? It's not about them at all. That's the point. When you're truly in your lane, thriving for you, everything else becomes a bonus. You don't need their reaction. You've already won by becoming someone you respect. As the Stoics remind us, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. You don't need to tell them you've changed. You show it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you stop chasing, in the way you start choosing. So stop checking if they've noticed. Stop measuring your progress by their response. Grow because it's who you are now. Build a life so full that whether they circle back or not becomes irrelevant. Because the real power move isn't in making them miss you. It's becoming the version of you that doesn't need them to. Let them come to the flame. You just keep burning. 9. Stay in the picture. You don't have to vanish completely to prove your worth. Going silent doesn't mean disappearing into thin air. It means shifting your focus back onto your own life. Imagine this. Instead of bombarding a timeline with constant messages or forced smiles, you let your energy flow naturally. Perhaps they catch a glimpse of you on an exciting trip, discovering a new hobby, or laughing with friends. These aren't desperate ploys for attention. They're genuine snapshots of a life that keeps moving forward, with or without their input. In fact, that forward momentum is incredibly powerful. You might ask yourself, but what if they think I'm ignoring them? The answer lies in authenticity. There's no room for fakeness in this game. People have an uncanny ability to sense pretense from miles away. If your smile is forced, or if you're over-curating your life just to appear thriving, they'll see right through it. Instead of trying to seem like a man who's doing well, the goal is to truly become that person. Invest in yourself, build new experiences, and embrace the passions that bring you fulfillment. A wise mind once said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." That timeless truth is at the heart of living authentically. A Stoic doesn't waste time moaning over what's out of control. They live fully in the present, completely engaged in their own journey. You don't post updates to prove something. You share them because you're genuinely enjoying your life. And that difference is everything. Consider the natural world. Think of a river that flows steadily over rocks. It doesn't force its way around obstacles or flood the banks with desperation. Instead, it charts its own course and finds beauty in every turn. When someone observes that steady flow, they feel a quiet pull, a curiosity about the source of that calm strength. That's what happens when you invest in your own journey. Your life becomes a series of genuine moments that catch the eye and spark questions. How did they manage to do that? Or, what new adventures are they on now? It isn't about trying to manufacture an image for the sole purpose of catching someone's eye. It's about cultivating a lifestyle that speaks for itself. When you naturally engage with the world around you without forcing or overcompensating, you allow your true self to shine. And when your energy is authentic, It creates an unspoken message. I'm thriving and my happiness isn't hinged on anyone else. There's a certain magnetism that comes from being so secure in your own path that you don't even need to broadcast it constantly. Instead, your achievements, your adventures, and your quiet moments of joy do the talking for you. When the person you're hoping to reconnect with sees these genuine expressions of growth and fulfillment, it triggers an internal reevaluation. They might ask themselves, have I misjudged their worth? Was my decision to pull away too hasty? Curiosity is a potent force. It makes them wonder if perhaps they let go of something truly remarkable. The key is to remain relaxed and confident. Don't overdo it by trying to force reminders of your existence. The objective isn't to repeatedly flash images of success or happiness. It's to allow your life to naturally illustrate the progress you've made. And remember, this isn't about playing games or calculating moves. It's about embodying a mindset where your value isn't defined by someone else's attention or absence. If you're genuinely invested in growing and living fully, the world will notice. Your posts, your adventures, and even your quiet moments of reflection become subtle signals that you're on an exciting journey. And that kind of authentic energy doesn't need to be shouted. It simply radiates, catching the eye of those who matter most. In the end, when you're truly busy living your life with passion and purpose, you create a scenario where your presence is felt without being forced. You stay on their radar in a natural, effortless way. And if they notice the difference, it's not because you're chasing after them. It's because you've become the kind of person who doesn't wait around for external validation. That transformation is the ultimate power move. So, keep your focus where it matters. On yourself, on your growth, on your own adventure. Let your life be the silent, compelling narrative that draws the right attention. Stay in the picture without overdoing it, and let the natural flow of your success do all the talking. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.